All right, sorry, I got all the stuff pulled up. I apologize for the yeah. All right, so yeah, first, like I was saying, it's a great game. Been playing it for 2 days now. I've really been having a great time with it. My general idea here is just, I'm sure you guys have been answering the same questions all day, repeating kind of the same answers. So I'm going to try and give you some questions a little more outside the box that require some creative thinking skills. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so first question that I have for you guys is, you've all spent about 100 hours, if not thousands of hours, working on Warhammer 3 here. So what is the one detail in the game that you're convinced no one will ever notice unless you talk about it right now?
Ooh. Oh, God, okay. Well, to be honest, we hope everyone will notice all the things that are different. Yes. We go out our way to try and make sure they are noticeable. That's no one. I suppose a more minor detail for me would be effectively what we've called the get off my land button, which allows you to basically tell someone to get off your land, or, you know, get out and get out. Or you can declare war with them without any diplomatic repercussions. Yes. Yeah, and if you do that and they stay there, like Ian just said, you can go to war with them without the diplomatic penalties. So that really kind of plays into that power fantasy, which we try and get with Total War, and it was kind of missing in the previous things. You can basically tell someone to F off. Yeah. There's one that I would bring up, which actually is not. I'm hoping people do notice this because it's a really, really innovative new feature we brought in, but when we look at it now, we think, oh, we're worried it's a bit more hidden than it should be, and we haven't had time to really draw more attention to it. So I don't know if you've even seen it yet, so it might be relevant to your question, which is the outposts feature. When you're allied with someone and building outposts and then being able to do new war coordination with them, request an army, and even recruit troops from that race into your own army, which opens up all manner of interesting possibilities and reasons to want to ally with someone, which takes all the other diplomacy improvements we've made and adds that extra gameplay level on top of bothering to engage in diplomacy and create alliances. Really opens up a massive bag of tricks for you as a player. But, you know, in hindsight, looking back now, we like, maybe this is something that what people won't see as easily as we'd like, because it's, you know, relatively deep in the diplomacy screen compared to right and hunt. So I guess my first answer without being able to think it through is, I'm hoping people will see that, but it may be an omission of ours that we didn't flag it up enough, because I think a lot of fans will get a lot of value out of that feature.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I've been actively pursuing that as Cathay, because I have trade lines with the Empire and the Dwarves. I've been like trying to get them so I can recruit some Dwarf and Empire mercenaries. So it really is a lovely feature.
Yeah.
All right, next one. In development, you know, everyone has that special something that you try to shepherd all the way through, but in the end, you just have to cut it, you know, to make the game ship. So what was that darling that you had to kill to get the game completed?
Oh, can we even answer this? I'm going to answer this. You answer it. Go on then. Okay. Yeah, we've wanted for some time on this team to bring back a more advanced version of the avatar system that we brought out in Shogun 2, and I was the lead designer on that at the time. And due to circumstances and what have you, we weren't able to do it. So it was something that we would love to have done and may well do in the future. But yeah, that's my one.
Well, something similar to it did make it into the game. I'm not sure how much we can talk about it, but yeah, something similar did make it, and I could see where your head was at on it.
Well, what we did is we've done something that even more unique to us, which is the 8-player simultaneous campaign stuff, which is even better in a lot of ways, because it gives you the whole Total War experience, including campaign, for multiplayer. And I don't know if you've had a chance to play it with anyone yet, but with the feature that when you go into a battle together, you can gift units to any one of the other players, you end up all participating in a battle, you know, with 8 of you, and, you know, one person can micro one of your cavalry units, or another person can micro one of the wizards, and those massive spectacle battles that you get with 8 people all controlling a few units each or what have you, that just creates that social gameplay where not only are you all watching it together or whatever, but you're actually all contributing and playing in that same battle. That creates loads of really interesting, fun moments with friends. And the scenarios we've set up with them, we call the Time of Legends campaigns, where it's an evening's worth of, 8 players, start at the beginning of the evening, end at the end. So you get that conclusion, you get that drive to be the winner and what have you, but they're set up to have you in the campaign context, kicking off straight away rather than a long, slow build-up, and immediately starting engaging in these battles where there may be 2 massive stacks or even 3 or 4 combining, and then all 8 of you joining in that battle and sharing the experience. Some may be playing as the AI army, or some as their own armies that you're at war with. And you get those moments where just 8 of you having a laugh and bantering with each other and trying to win each battle. And but you get the whole experience of start to finish all in one evening. And that's something that we've wanted to do for a long time. And because of the success of the first 2 games, we've had this extra time and budget to be able to really do that kind of thing for Warhammer 3. And that's kind of one of the central remits of what we wanted to do with Warhammer 3 is go, right, what was great about the previous games, continue to evolve, make them twice as much content, so it's a bigger game there, make them even more asymmetrical and unique in terms of features for the factions, but also bring in loads of brand new stuff, like 8-player simultaneous campaigns, like customizable demon princes, and like doing diplomacy and then adding outposts. So it's so much more than what Warhammer 2 was to Warhammer 1 in terms of the amount of content and how far we push everything, and then a load of unique things thrown on top, because we really want to go out with a bang and say, the success of the first 2 games has enabled us to go even more to town and take that positive feedback and go, right, here's everything we know a lot of the fans have wanted and what we'd have wanted, and minor settlements, rework of sieges and major settlements, all that stuff. We've not held back. We've really decided that, this is the big bang into the trilogy that is everything we kind of hope the fans have wanted along the way. And we really monitor that all the time with the DLC content that we make, and for the tentpoles, we're always aware of what fans are calling for, and also a few new curveballs with this new stuff that people would never have dreamt would happen. Hopefully that's stuff that people will be excited about as well. So we tried to do everything for the fans and for the trilogy as a whole, to just round it off with this massive big bang at the end. So it's been a big old exciting project.
Yeah. I think I've been quite lucky, because the things I've really cared about, we have managed, thanks to you a lot of the time, to keep them in. As recently as something to do with Bellacore, which we can't talk about, it's embargoed. But I suppose something we obviously had to enter into some high-end negotiations with Games Workshop to make sure certain combinations of Demon Prince parts would work and they would let us do. And so there were some interesting conversations with those guys, but we all got on the same page, and the guy who we work with most closely, Chris, he was very forgiving for us. So thanks to that, you can get some really crazy and cool combinations and Demon Prince loadouts, which I think I'm really looking forward to seeing what players come up with and share kind of in Discords and on forums.
One other thing as well that Andy was particularly heavily involved with is something we're getting lots of positive feedback on internally, and when people are seeing it for the first time, is a part of that whole bigger, better, and doing things, more than we have in the past based on feedback, was the narrative and the story as a whole, and just saying, okay, it's gone down really well in Warhammer 2 particularly, right, let's take that to the next level, let's do more of them, let's up the quality, let's bind them more intricately into the gameplay experience as well. And so you see the rifts and the going into the Chaos Realms and how that links to the story, and the prologue, which we're not talking about in detail now, but some people have played it because I think you've got access to it, and how that provides a backdrop for the main game and how it tells a story. Yeah. So, but keeping true to that sandbox total war experience, but having the story and the narrative augment that and make that sandbox an even more enjoyable sandbox, has been something we've kind of built up towards the first few games. And even that Rifts mechanic is a refined version of the Vortex, where some of the negative side of what the Vortex sort of gameplay provided, we've ironed out with the Rifts, and they're actually making the game a better game rather than pigeonholing you or making it more linear. So we think we've learned a lot from the past, and you know, and the narrative side of it has been received so well in the previous games that we just went, right, let's just ramp that up and just really do something that takes it to that next level. And
so we killed the goal.
We did.
Yeah. But spoiler, you can't bring him back alive.
So the mini campaigns, I was very excited to see come back. I've always enjoyed those slightly more focused, so it's really cool to see that come back here. And though we can't talk about the prologue, seeing you guys push into a more narrative style is really interesting, and I look forward to seeing what you guys can do with that in the future. Ian, this next question is for you specifically. You were the game director of Warhammer 1, 2, and 3, which is a heck of an accomplishment. What's something you know now that you wish you had known at the start?
Oh, crikey. You're right, you are coming up with some different questions.
You probably wouldn't have employed me, would you?
No, of course not. What do I know now that I didn't know at the start? I don't know. I think I trust myself and the team inherently now that our general take on what we think makes Total War fun over the first few games has been proven time and time again to be correct. So I think with Warhammer 3, we've been willing to kind of do these new things, thinking, well, if we're genuinely thinking they're cool, and let's face it, all these ideas go through that kind of early brainstorming, and if 10 designers in a room all go, oh yeah, that's cool, you know, and you get that consensus and you build up, and then you got QA and everyone. And I just know, I feel more comfortable now to be able to step out of the box and do things like the Rifts or the Chaos Realms gameplay and big up the movies, because we've had that feedback where it's been reinforced. And it's like, okay, we made some big calls for Warhammer 1, like, you know, doing the asymmetry of the armies and saying, okay, well, traditionally in Total War, we'd say, well, that faction doesn't have any obvious missile troops, so we'll dig deep in history and find an example so they've got a balanced army. With Warhammer, I was like, no, we want to have them different, and that's exciting. But there was a lot of voices internally that went, no, you can't do that. It won't work. I'm like, no, it will. And so you're taking a risk, because, and then when that gets borne out and the fans like it, you start to get more confident that because I changed careers 20 years ago to work in games because of Shogun 1. So I'm the world's biggest Total War fan. I've changed my life to be able to work with Total War, right? So I kind of now realise that, me and the team together, we feel more confident that what we love about the game is what our fans will also love about the game. Does that make sense? So I kind of, these 3 games have really iterated that we feel more confident to go out and do the things we'd want to do that we'd like.
It is crazy to think that there was internal opposition to asynchronous faction design at the time.
Yeah,
and now, especially Warhammer 3, we've taken that to one of the most extreme ends.
Yeah.
Following like in the footsteps of DLC, and following in the footsteps of Warhammer 2, etc.
And then when you have a bigger budget because of the success of the first few games, you can take those things and just take them up to the next level. Like now, every faction feels almost like a different campaign game rather than just a few differences. And I think, so
each one plays completely differently. I mean, I'm glad you decided to trust yourselves on that one. The the asymmetrical design is, I think, one of the most interesting aspects of these games. They feel so completely different. So good on you on that one.
There was no argument on Warhammer 1 that I had to overcome, which was, well, if you're doing a feature that's really fun, don't waste that effort on just one faction. It should apply to all factions. And I had to really fight against that. And I'm thinking, maybe that's right, maybe that's... But again, the feedback comes in, you think, no, I think that has been vindicated because, from the fans' point of view, they want a different experience and, we should provide that. And I think, we've taken that to 15 with Warhammer 3.
Everyone wants a reason to play another campaign, something a little different, another reason to come back. I have a question specifically for Andy, but I'm going to, as this one kind of relates more, I'll go right into it, which is, what aspect of the Warhammer 3, and especially the lore, was the most difficult to adapt to the gameplay?
I would say it was the Chaos Realms. looking at the forums and stuff, I saw people making the assumption that you would go in the Chaos Realms and just play the Total War empire building game in the Chaos Realms, which well, there you go, which was never going to be the case. We wanted the player to go into the Chaos Realms, and we knew that from the start. So we had to kind of justify it in the narrative. Why would Kislev, who have been the bulwark against Chaos for 2,000 years, why would they suddenly want to go in there? So we had to make sure there was a compelling narrative reason for them to do that, but also that same narrative reason had to apply to Skarbrand and Kudath, etc.
And why are they not already in those Chaos Realms? How have they been banished so that they can empire build on the mortal realms as well? And all that stuff is part of devising this narrative.
Absolutely. So the narrative had to do a lot of heavy lifting for all that, but also, what do you do as a Total War player once you're in those Chaos Realms? Where famously in the lore, you step into those and you'll go mad and insane. But also, it needed to feel still like an impressive experience for Skarbrand, who in theory should be as easy to go into the Chaos Realms as you opening your front door. So it still had to feel kind of monolithic and grandiose for him to go into the Chaos Realms, as it would be for Catherine. It's not just the narrative, it's the actual gameplay. Each realm, as you've probably seen, is a different experience, with the Slaaneshi Temptations, the Corn Bowl, I've noticed people have already started to call it, and the Zentian Maze. So I'm hopeful, we're hopeful that we've got that right. And that people find that an interesting kind of experience going in every 30 turns or so.
Yeah, it's taking each of those rounds and trying to hit on the head the flavour of that god as an experience you get as a player going in there. And I think that's never more true than in the Slaanesh realm, where it's kind of like, it's not you fighting your way through, but you've got to, as a player, overcome temptation. It's almost like you're breaking the fourth wall from the gameplay. It's not you making gameplay decisions for the characters in the game. It's like you as a player going, oh, he's offered me that massive bribe. That's 100,000 gold, and this massive thing, plus 15 levels for each character. I really want that. That's going to really help my campaign. So as a player, you're genuinely tempted to say, oh, you know what, I won't have a soul this time. I'll take that hit on my victory conditions. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean? It's temptation for the player as a player, as well as the characters within the game.
We went through several iterations of those.
When we first did that, there was a lot of good feedback about the idea, but the temptations were quite minor. And it was too easy to resist. So towards the end, we just went, we've got to wrap this up. And now, even us, now we're playing, we're going, we really need a soul, but I really like that sword. And you know what I mean? And
everything in the kitchen sink.
Yeah, so we're really pleased with that, because it's just a different take. It's not more of the same. You go in there, you conquer. It's just a different experience flavoured around those gods that, it's a different way of thinking about a Total War experience, if you know what I mean. So we're, so far the feedback's been really good with that take on it, and we hope that will be.
I think I've noticed a few people being tempted as well.
Oh yeah, it is.
Have you been tempted? Have you played the Slaaneshi realm?
I haven't been to Slaanesh. I've been doing Cathay so far, so I've had a lot of interaction with Tzeentch a lot. So it's been a little different right there.
Have you run into the realms through a rift yet?
I went to Tzeentch. I haven't gone to Slaanesh's realm. I've only gone to Tzeentch.
Okay, so far. See if you can get to the end without being tempted out. Because if you take the bribe, you're out of there and you can't go back until the next rifts open up. So we'll see if you can resist, because it is as I said, it's an interesting take on it, and. It's a bit of lateral thinking, really, from the design point of view, is how we do something different. That's interesting. But
this next one will be pretty short, then I'll have a really light throwaway question at the end that everyone gets like a 2-second answer on. So Andy, this one's specifically for you. Now, you wrote for Games Workshop before, and then CA obviously now. What's one bit of lore or writing that you've gotten in there that you just can't believe that Total War approved to let you put in there?
Oh, God.
Well, there's a lot that we don't really.
We've come close to the mark with a lot of the Slaanesh material, let me tell you. Some of the Nurgle names had to be removed at the end. I fought for them as well, but we have ratings considerations.
So what things have you kept in for you that you're surprised at?
I mean, some of the stuff kind of Bellical, some of the Bellical script, I think is really good, and
We're not allowed to talk about that in this embargo. I'm glad to know the answer, but I would have to.
You're allowed. Kieran will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're allowed to acknowledge Bellical at this stage, just not talk about his unlockable nature.
Oh, okay, good.
And we got a great actor for that, Richard Armitage. So that was a bit of a coup for us.
That's Richard Armitage?
Yeah.
What?
I was playing a game.
Nobody has told us this.
No way!
It's the first we're hearing about it.
I was playing a game over Christmas on my desktop, and my kids were sitting there playing some other game on their PC. And my son suddenly turned around and went, "Dad, is that Corin?" I went, "Yeah, it is." He went, "Oh wow! I can't believe you haven't been told this." Yeah, no, he's the voice of Bellacore throughout the game.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a huge score. That's really cool. Sorry, I love the special. You guys have gotten some really great special guest stars in the Warhammer franchise, like getting people come in. So that's another one.
They're starting to come to us as well. They want to be part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hearing about what you can say about the Bellacore.
And Richard Armitage, but I presume that's.
Yeah.
That's such a perfect casting for that too. Just that broody kind of like, that's nice. That's nice. That's really cool. I seriously, no one's heard that. That's completely new information.
Yeah. It's
maybe something we need to get Kieran and the marketing guys to talk about.
Definitely. All right. So last question, third way for all of you guys, just a sort of kind of fun, light one to end on, which is if you could greenlight a total war game, fantasy or historical, regardless of financial viability or scale, what would you pick?
I can't see it.
I'm not going to be led into that trap.
There's a couple of very well-known movie franchises that most of us will be fans of. That I would name things such as your Lord of the Rings, your Game of Thrones, your Star Wars, all that stuff, and your 40Ks, all those games. Any of those would be a brilliant thing to do. I'd also love to do a World War II game at some point as well, but yeah, I'm not going to say anything specific because we probably will get asked not to talk about it, but those kind of things would be a pleasure to do at some point in the future, definitely.
I mean, you're already kind of doing my dream Total War game, so...
Good answer.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's nice. I don't think people that play the game appreciate that you guys are fans too, and I just wanted to make sure to give a chance for you guys to point that out. That you have things that you enjoy as well.
My Games Workshop mates up north from here, and I've actually just recently finished a year and a half kind of Warhammer 2 Mortal Empires campaign. So my mate is champing at the bit to get onto Warhammer 3. And then with simultaneous turns, we're going to have
simultaneous turns with a bit more people in too, so that'll be very nice.
I didn't have a chance when I was young to get into Warhammer per se, because I didn't have the money to fund the armies. But I was always a tabletop role player, Dungeons and Dragons. Got into computer games, loved Total War, and then Andy was always more the Warhammer side of it with his take on working for them. And he always says in the interviews, he said it from the year dot as like a Total War Warhammer game to him is his biggest fantasy he's had all his life. He's seeing that stuff come real on the screen. And so, we're all, we've become Warhammer lore fans as well through just absorbing it. We played the tabletop game for hundreds of hours as we started to design the vision for Warhammer 1. So that we understood that before we decided how we're going to create a Total War game from this lore. And so we became massive fans of Warhammer and brought Andy on board, and he's now become a big Total War fan as well. So there's a massive amount of enthusiasm in the team, and I always want to recruit people onto the team who have that enthusiasm, because I find that when you're all working as a team together day in, day out, and it's a lot of work, it's not all fun and games as people seem to think. Having that natural enthusiasm for what you're doing and excitement for it is a massive boost. It really, it oils the cogs of collaboration and excitement, and people come in with a springing their step every day, and you can create much greater things with a whole team of people who are excited to be there, rather than you're turning up for your 9-to-5 job, you know, because this is a labour of love. You know, we're making games. If we can't be excited about that, then why, you know, we might as well go and do another job. So, you know, we do tend to recruit onto the team as well, people who are fans of Total War, obviously, but also Warhammer, and keep that vibe going.
We'll play it at weekends. We spend far too much time together. We'll play it at the weekend. You're like, yeah.
It's quite sad, actually. The amount of developers I've spoken to over the years who they can't play the game they're working on in the evenings because they're sick of it. But, you know, I've played Total War for 20 years non-stop, and I'm still as excited now to play Warhammer 3 as I was when I played Shogun 1 20 odd years ago. And I think, you know, that's pretty sad, but it's nice to come into the office and look forward to working with a team of really talented people every day on something that genuinely and naturally excites you.
It's not normally this nice about us.
I am behind your back. It's not nice to your face.
Well, hopefully you all get to return to the office soon. Everybody gets to come back in again. You guys have clearly created something that people, I think, are really going to enjoy. I mean, I certainly have, and hopefully you're really proud of your work, because I know it's years to create something like this. So, yeah, hopefully when the reviews come out, you guys all have a smile about it.
Brilliant. Well, it's great to meet you. And nice to be able to see you as well, right?
Yes.
Staring at the screen. So thanks for making the effort. And
I'm glad you enjoyed the game as well.
Yeah.
Very much. Have a good one, guys. Pleasure meeting you.
Cody.
Thank you very much, Cody.
Thank you,
Cody.
Bye.